So it's 6:34. We have a quorum. I'm going to ask for a motion to open the budget workshop.
So moved.
Can I get a second? Okay, and we will start the budget workshop all off with Mr. Kenter. Will you be presenting first?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead and get started.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Graves, colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen of the community. My name is Dr. Philip Kenter. I'm the school business official here at Sag Harbor, and presenting our second workshop tonight. And tonight's workshop is entitled Insurance, Employee Benefits, Athletics, Buildings and Grounds, and Capital Projects. So specifically, I'll be talking about salaries, equipment, contractual, materials, and supplies. And just as soon as our first slide is up, I'll be talking about our district-wide insurance, which has pretty much remained flat with a 2% increase per the advice I received from NYSER, our insurance carrier. And that includes everything from commercial crime, student accident, liability, underground tank, our vehicles, and our contingency. Moving on to historical retirement system, our employee retirement system, our teacher retirement system. We're looking at specifically for the employee retirement system, we're looking at an increase from last year to this year of approximately $27,000, and for ERS and for teachers' retirement system, we're looking at an increase from $1,768,000 to $1,937,000. Historically, our insurance, our health insurance has gone up steadily at 8.28% on average for family, and 7.47 for individual. We've had ups and downs wherein we budget for 11, it goes up 8. This year we've got a placeholder of 12.5% for health insurance increase, not knowing what the second half of the year premiums will be. Moving to Medicare, and thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that. I'll just move this along. And all these charts are in your respective binders. So looking at the next section, which is Medicare reimbursement for health insurance, the opt-out program for health insurance, the cafeteria plan, you'll see that they remained flat. And in fact, the opt-out program, we had a reduction because we actually had more staff enroll into our health insurance program. Disability insurance will remain flat as dental insurance went up 3%, and compensated absences we're estimating to be flat at $175,000. Social Security went up in accordance with contractual agreements we have in place with our staff. Workers' compensation went from 103 to proposed at 120, and that's directly reflective upon claims, actual claims. New York State unemployment insurance is flat at 25.
Excuse me, can I ask a question about that? If you go back just one
Yes,
second.
ma'am.
When you say it's based on claims, do you mean claims within the district?
Yes.
So we've had claims that are now we need to budget more for workers' comp?
Actual injuries that occurred in the past where those claims have come to the fruition, and we actually have to pay a portion of to the claimant's health insurance carrier.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
So this chart really is a nice one-page synopsis of all of our various benefits for the staff, and what our actual expenditures were in 15-16, 16-17, what's budgeted for this year, 17-18, what we're proposing for 18-19, and I went ahead and put the percentage changes in there as requested from last week. And you'll see at the end, when we calculate everything, and it was a very involved process looking at every employee and the increases and whatnot, but we're estimating an $859,000 budget increase for 18-19 for all these benefits, which is an 8.9% increase. And this is why we're working so hard to keep our budget lines as flat as possible everywhere we can, so that when we do get hit with this type of an increase, we can account for it.
Excuse me, one other question about that. Just none of those expenses can be, they all have to be captured under the tax cap. None of them are exempt, correct?
That's correct.
So we have to make up all those percentages somewhere else.
That's right.
Right, because,
Right, and so that's why the direction we've received from the superintendent is to keep all the lines as flat as possible,
Right.
all along the line.
And it was really good that when we can only look forward 6 months when we do our insurance. And so last year, when our business administrator was looking forward, we went very conservatively and assumed we were looking at upwards north of, we went with an 11% increase the second half of the year. So for the first 6 months, we were looking at about an 8% increase. And so we went very conservatively, so we're actually going to see a capture of savings this year. So, because we're looking at an 8% overall. So we've got about a 3% buffer in this current year's budget, which
Yes.
is good.
that's smart. And you're guessing sometimes. On
And
some of
we're-
this you have to guess.
And
That
the
was very
sec-
smart to do.
In the second half of this year, Dr. Kenter has built in over a 12% buffer for the second half of this year. So we're being even more compressing in what we're building in. So we actually have a capture of savings this year, and then next year we're looking at worst case scenario, we're going upwards of 12%, which I thought was a really good recommendation on his part.
I think you'll find, working with me, I'm very fiscally conservative, and that's the training that I've had, so that's how I'll be presented for the board's consideration. And so, at this point, that concludes the benefits and the insurance. I'd like to turn the program over to Mr. Eric Bromhoff, our Director of Athletics, who will pick it up from here. Eric?
Hey, thank you.
And in keeping with last year, Dr. Kenner's been working, I haven't, been very little influencing on this. They're gonna do the highlights and the compressions. So here's the big pieces that they're adding, and really the rest is just compressing to make sure that it stays flat as possible.
Good evening, everybody. The 2018-19 proposed budget from the athletics program, a few highlights that I just want to get out to the Board of Education is that all our current programming will be maintained with the budget that we'll be submitting. We are going to be adding several additional items. Two of the main items that I would like to highlight are we're going to be adding the Huddle Sports Statistics and Video Program, and we will be having a presentation on that on March 1st for the athletic committee as well as for the coaches. This was a program that we thought we would definitely be moving towards, and we've decided to put in the budget for the 2018-19 school year. One additional major purchase that we made this year, we'll be making next year, will be the addition of permanent soccer goals, commercial grade, that would go out on the athletic field. An overview of our athletic offerings here at Pearson High School and Pearson Middle School are, I've diagrammed this at past board meetings. I can highlight a few changes that we have coming to us is, once again, we've entered into a deal with Bridgehampton. And what we'll be doing is we'll be maintaining our non-competitive cheer team that you see at the basketball games, but we will also be giving our girls the option if they would like to go over and compete in competitive cheer. This is the first year, or I believe the second year, where there is a state championship for cheerleading. They've really decided to turn cheerleading into like the other sports that we offer at the state level. So that's one additional option that they would have. We did move some things around for this school year. and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that, and I'll get to that when we get to the middle school. Just to clarification for fall football will be hosted at Southampton as it was for the previous year. And we'll have lacrosse will still be part of that super team at Southampton. Will be combined with Bridgehampton, Ross, Southampton, Sag Harbor, and East Hampton. The changes that you'll see here are we're going to be, and this is already taking effect, we're going to be hosting our girls lacrosse here as opposed to going to, at the middle school level. We'll be hosting it here as opposed to going to East Hampton. And I think that was the only additional change. Also, spring track will be hosted here. What we've done scheduling-wise, a lot of people ask, how do you have track without a track? We do have a practice facility here, and we've piggybacked on East Hampton's schedule. So effectively, for the 4 meets that we would participate in, it would be the exact same schedule that we would have had if we had gone to East Hampton. The only difference is now we're scored as a separate team, and we are practicing with our own, at our own facility, and we've hired our own coach.
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Bremo, is it less or more expensive to host the middle school lacrosse?
Well, we do have to pay a coach, but what we found is we don't have to have a second softball team, because our numbers on the softball team were like 26, 27 last
Right.
year, and many of the girls just wanted something to do. This, directly speaking to them. So what we decided is, they said, I'd play lacrosse if I didn't have to go to a different district to play.
Right.
A lot of times at the middle school level, the skill level isn't developed yet. They just really want to be part of something. So the cost, as you'll see at the end of the presentation, had no effect.
Should be a wash then, because you're
It
taking
is a
transfer
wash.
from one coach to the other.
We would also save on transportation.
Right.
If you look at the end of the day, it is probably a wash.
Terrific.
So.
Thank you.
Again, a quick overview, and I apologize if I'm being too slow here. 58 teams. This is like a broad look at what we do, what we're allocating this funding, what we get out of this, and I'm very proud of these numbers. As a school, we had 157 high school athletes participate in the fall. Now, the fall is traditionally our largest number. The winter it dipped down to 64, and it's projected to go back up to in the mid-70s to 80s for the spring. These are conservative projection. If you do percentage of students who have participated per season, these are a conservative projection for the spring. I think it's going to be a little bit higher this year, especially at the middle school level for the exact reasons that I just said. I think the students are more comfortable at the middle school level staying home, and then once they go up to the JV and varsity level, they'll be able to go out. This is the line-by-line instructional salaries code for all the programs that we offer here. If you have any questions about any of those particular items, I'll gladly answer them. There's many there, and I believe it's continued on to the next page.
I just have a
Yep.
question, Mr. Brown. The mention of the additional sports statistic and video program, I just don't see where the cost is for that. Can you just explain?
I built it into my, and I'll get to that slide in a minute. I built it into the overall expenditures. There's a slide in a little bit that highlights all that, so I'll get there in a second. But I'll come back to that question soon. Okay. If we look at the non-instructional salaries, it stayed pretty much flat. I'll use Phil's laser pointer here. He gave me instructions on it and there. So for the 17-18 budget, the non-instructional salaries were $24,461. Now it's $25,904. That went up slightly. You can see it went up by about $1,500. Relatively flat, all things considered. And the chaperone salaries remained flat as well to the dollar amount for the proposed budget for next year. And
Can I just ask a
Yep.
quick question about that? So those are people in addition to the coaches, right?
yes, what we do is,
So which- yeah.
Each game requires a different level of support staff. Very often it's the people that are the EMTs or the, and I have that EMT line here, but it would also be the people that conduct the clock or do the book. For example, at a varsity or JV basketball game, boys or girls, you have to have 3 people at the table. You have to have you have to have a scoreboard operator, shot clock operator, and an official scorebook. So those are 3 positions we pay, and then obviously when we get big crowds, the level of security is usually, I usually meet with the administrative team to kind of figure out what kind of crowd we're gonna have. And for homecoming and different events, we have different levels of security. Additionally, like this year, if you have a high rate of success and you go to postseason play, it is there's a request of the section that we send adequate supervision. We have a tendency to err on the side of make sure that our kids are safe. So we will send the additional chaperone if needed for a playoff game, because the kids, they often have to travel a long distance, but we still need to have a presence from the school. So that would be the non-instructional and the chaperoning salaries. This is the equipment line. The equipment line only went up $225. And we need to remember that we are purchasing a substantial item here. It's going to run about just shy of $10,000 to get 2 commercial grade soccer goals, which would hope to have a lifespan of over a decade. I would hope 2 decades. We're going to purchase a new scoreboard control panel for the middle school. If you've ever been to a middle school game and the horn gets stuck, that's going to alleviate that issue. This is a cost that I didn't build in last year. I wanted to fix that this year. And then we have our weight room budget, which will go to helping to continue the process of upgrading our weight room area. If you look down here at the lowest 3 levels, if you look on your packet, this is back to Susan's question, where we have the huddle sports. We built in $8,000 for that, $8,000 and change. I got a direct quote from the company for that. That would fall well within that range. And I've also spoken to the company about the possibility of, after his presentation in the spring, that's why I'm trying to do it before the March 6th, where the spring sports start, if we could pilot the program for our spring season to make sure that this is something that we want to move towards. I would invite all the board members to attend that. And we have the family ID, and we have our coach evaluator software. This is all part of the ongoing process where we're trying to get as paperless as possible. And the coach evaluator software, and we are getting the sports use software for free at the moment. And in fact, they just donated a large sum of money to Section 11. We utilize that app for all communications. Moving on, this is the breakdown for equipment supplies. The equipment did go up a little bit. I would factor in that would be predominantly from the soccer goals. If you look at the net, if the total cost of running our athletic program minus transportation, which will be at a later board meeting, we are increasing the budget by $503.50, which is, I believe, it's a 0.06 increase, so less than 1%. And this last slide is kind of the summary of the and there it is, the 0.06. It works out that I'm fairly confident that this is a flat budget, and without compromising any things that we've offered to our applicants.
Eric, I don't see under supplies anything for the girls lacrosse. Did you already get the lacrosse equipment?
We were able to get the lacrosse equipment because a lot of the equipment, like goggles, cross over with field hockey, and we have built up an inventory. So that's one. Other than that, we purchased 2 on this budget. We purchased 2 lacrosse goals, which are substantially less than the soccer goals. So we were able to go through our contingency budget to to allocate to buy those on this budget cycle. So, we did get a little strain on the balls and stuff, but it's the total cost, and I do have a breakdown for the lacrosse program coming here, is we basically took from the junior high softball code and put it over on that side. So it would be a wash if we were at whatever it would cost to run that second team.
Can I ask Eric a question that might just be a formatting issue? So when I read this printout, it looks like there's, for example, 2,000 for the middle school scoreboard control panel in the 2017-18 budget, and then again the same amount in the 2018-19.
Yep.
Is that because it's a $4,000 item and you're spreading it out over, or why?
It's a $2,000 item, but what we've done is, and in fact, that should read, the one previous should read high school, because we replaced that one.
Oh, I see.
So we have
that
all the
one's high
same,
school,
yeah,
the other's middle
I
school.
apologize for
Okay.
that, that was probably a misprint. We replaced the high school one last year, and then we replaced this one. We also purchased a wireless one for that scoreboard. So now I'm trying to get them so they're all updated so they can talk and they can be interchangeable.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious,
Yeah.
because because I wasn't sure if it was the same thing or it's the same. And then just another question, can you just walk us through sort of the weight room equipment? Because again, same thing, you had 9,000 last
Yeah.
year, you have 9,000 again
Yeah.
this year, and you guys did buy a lot of equipment
Yes,
last year.
last year we substantially updated the weight room portion of the weight room. And I knew all along that I would need to, very soon, address the cardio equipment. They've run their life cycle. It's very difficult to get replacement parts for several of the cardio machines. They're starting to become dated, and this is a purchase that we would have to make to maintain that cardio room. Right now we have very low amounts of equipment. We only have about 4 to 6 working pieces of machines. And if they do get broken or anything like that, right now it's not cost effective to try to find the parts to repair a machine that's 10
But
years old.
in the last year's budget, there is cardio equipment for 9,000.
Yes, we use that on our bikes that have the screens. So that was a reach purchase. We brought them in, and the kids love them. It's the single biggest piece of equipment that we have. And I would actually look into the future to buying more of those. Again, the weight room and cardio room right now are very small in size, so we have to be very, very careful about every piece of equipment that we put in there. We have to maximize it out. If you were to look at a weight room budget for a larger school or a larger weight room, it would be astronomical in comparison.
So what you're saying though is that weight room budget for the 2018-2019 comprises cardio as well?
It comprised 2 cardio machines, but we started with nothing, and that was the biggest thing. We had many expenditures over the last 2 years in terms of getting the weight room. We didn't have every piece of equipment was what I would consider to be outdated, and we updated the weight portion, and then with the additional funding, we purchased the 2. They're called espresso bikes. That are linked to each other, and it's an interactive fitness. So it would fall under either the cardio or the weight room budget on that one.
Okay, I got a lot of questions.
Go ahead.
Obviously, a lot of lines went up and a lot of things increased, and yet the net effect is only a $500 difference. So I don't see a budget for Lorraine, the athletic director.
Yeah, it's in there,
She's in there.
$12,000.
I forget what page
In
she's
the
on.
2017-18 budget she is. I don't see her in the 18-19.
Right here. Oh, you're saying she's not in on the,
Unless I'm reading this backwards, I don't see him. In other words, the athletic instructional salaries, 17-18, added up to $306,644, if I'm picking up the right number, right? And your 18-19 salaries dropped to $265,000. Now, I know that is because you yourself have been reclassified. So your salary slid out of here, your stipend stays in. Phil, where are we gonna see the increase? In the teachers, when we get to the teachers line.
Yes. Yeah,
But
it's
I
on the
don't see
teacher's line.
Lorraine.
I'm looking
Well,
at it.
that doesn't make sense, because he was split between two different groups then, so it should really not come out of here, it would be coming out of facilities.
No, he's not facilities anymore.
No, what I'm saying is that's where you would see the decrease of the facilities.
No, well, let's go where it was. It was budgeted in athletics, right here.
Right,
You can see it, it's the first number.
right.
And it's dramatically decreased in the new budget to reflect the appropriate way it's arranged, so it's correct. So, in other words, it's not apples to apples. I'm not looking to open up a can of worms, but you
Yep.
got huge increases in here that are masked by the fact that it got moved around, which is okay, except you forgot Lorraine.
All
I
right,
don't see
but
her.
Yeah,
we
you're
do
right.
have a fail-safe built in for Lorraine. If we look at our athletic events coverage, if you look at what I've, and Phil has the numbers, if you look what I've spent, I usually allocate about $75,000 for coverage of that. And Lorraine's salary, it is an oversight, I don't understand why it wouldn't be in there. But at the same time, I know I could incur that cost through the chaperoning.
Okay, and
But
then the 1.9% anticipated increase is going
Where are
to
we?
be on the stipends for your coaches.
Okay,
I don't know, I'm asking. Phil, wait, what's that 1.9% increase?
Let me take a look.
are we talking here?
No, on your 2018-19 proposed budget, last line, all the way on the bottom, it says 1.9% increase.
Which slide number are you on?
And they're not numbered.
I don't remember. It starts, the top of the line is your stipend. That's the bridge. The top expense,
Right there,
There.
right
That
there,
was it,
go
it
back,
was there.
go back, yeah.
all the way at the bottom. It says 1.9%. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's on the stipends for the coaches.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so if you're really looking apples to apples and you corrected the athletic director's salary versus stipend, you'd have a tremendous increase in this budget, and I think you're missing Lorraine.
Yes,
Right.
you're right,
So
you're
it
right.
is misleading in that sense.
Yeah, okay, I just,
No, I would suggest we need to add Lorraine, because that is a different function than a chaperone. So
So
that
we
should
can-
really be separated
We can reduce.
and allocated, right? Yeah, but the chaperone number is reflective of the chaperone number this current year.
Yes.
It doesn't include Lorraine's amount.
How much
So
is
it would seem
Lorraine?
we're under budgeted.
12,000.
12,000.
Okay,
So
so
it would
we'll
seem-
have to compress somewhere to put Lorraine in.
We
Okay.
will compress somewhere where I don't know at this time.
That's a good catch. Thanks. All right.
Anything
It is-
else
it is.
for athletics?
It is Dr. Ketcher's third week on the job, and he did do budgets back to back. So that was a good catch, thank you.
all right, where are we
I don't have
going?
We all set?
Buildings and grounds.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Eric.
And you're staying on your time frame. I told them that if they could get this done in 35 minutes and take 10 minutes of questions, that the board actually might have a breathing moment.
It's now my pleasure to introduce Mr. Marcus De Silva, our school maintenance crew leader, who's in charge of facilities, to present the next section of our proposed budget.
But do you have more?
I will come back to it.
Good evening, Board of Education, Superintendent Graves, community members. Thanks, Phil. Thanks. Okay. Starting with our equipment code, you'll see that we have a significant increase from 17-18 year. Yes, 17-18 year, in the amount of $22,825. This is to replace one of our 72-inch Hustler lawnmowers that has a seized engine. Also to look at our utility gator, that is, the body is rotting out and the transmission is slipping. And to purchase a new specialty custodial scrubbing machine that would be used for tile floors in the bathrooms as well as the walls district-wide. You know, these pieces of equipment will aid, you know, it will decrease in manpower and aid in efficiency of our department.
What's a high-speed burnisher?
That was from last year. That's it's a stand-up machine. It goes about 1,500 RPMs, and it's used to like take wax off the floor or bring it to a
Good.
high-speed polish.
Learn something new every day.
Something you'll never need.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do have a question about this, though. Any of this equipment, none of this is associated with the bond project with the fields, and
No,
it's
ma'am.
not part of, and you can't buy this kind of equipment with that kind of project, correct?
You know, that's a very good question. I mean, I've told in the past, I'm not 100% sure, I'll have to talk to Dr. Kenter, but in the past, I thought we couldn't purchase equipment off a bond. I wasn't 100% sure on that.
I'm simply asking because since we're expanding our use and the cost of maintenance of our fields, if we can, I don't remember this because it's been a while since we talked about it, but if you can, and there is money left over from the bond, that might be a good allocation. And
We did purchase
Okay.
that's an-
a really beautiful
Lawnmower,
mower
right?
for
That's
the
it.
backfield that's dedicated to the backfield, because that was the recommendation of our specialist from the bridge.
Right.
Because we don't wanna have cross-pollination
Right,
by using
right.
something from the Pearson Hill that
Right.
might drag over seeds that could disrupt the lawn. We wanted to have something dedicated, so that was the recommendation, and that was, I believe, purchased with bond money.
Okay, great.
So,
So,
and
that's-
That's a
done in-
possibility then.
that's
I'm
done
just
in
asking though, because
dedicated.
we have the field in the elementary school that's part of the bond
That's
project
right.
that will be grass.
That's right, we're
So
starting that this
so this
summer.
has to do with grass maintenance, I'm just saying it might be an opportunity.
That's a great possibility.
But, I
That's
wouldn't
a very
recommend
good
it, because, we're gonna get a presentation tonight that's gonna show that the funds are dedicated, and
Right.
there
Very
is
little wiggle room,
there's
right?
Project Creep there.
Yes.
There's a lot
can
of
talk
things
about
that our folks down at the elementary, now that we're breaking ground, really, when you have all of the folks there doing the work, so you have the laser construction, they're
Sure.
moving the, there's things that they'll present that they really want done. And if it isn't allocated directly for that, so there was a reason for that lawnmower, and it made sense in the project, if it's not scripted into the project, which the lawnmower was scripted into that project,
It's too late.
yeah,
It's too
you
late.
can't
Okay.
bring it in later.
Okay.
That's
So-
our lawnmower. That's leaking everywhere. So we use that lawnmower to actually take care of Pearson Hill and other areas of the district. So we're looking to replace that piece of equipment.
And you're starting to see places, if you look, this in the Gator, where they're slipping, their transmissions are slipping, and you're starting to get these brownout spots where the wheels go. And I explained to Mark Stasota how much this community loves Pearson Hill and how important it is that we maintain it. So it was not, the timing was not great, but if you look at that piece of equipment, they've had far too many years.
Do we have an aerator?
Yeah, we do.
We do,
We
okay.
do, yes. Yeah.
The new equipment that is in this budget, you know, is it the type of equipment that over the years can get repaired and will last a long time?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
because it's a big investment.
I want to say that these lawnmowers are lasting 15, 20 years.
Okay,
So.
thank you.
Operation of plant contractual. This code, all right, the 400 code, we do have an increase of $395 and for professional development. Okay, we have some training classes and whatnot. You can see that we're at $39,505 on the 2018, so it's an increase of $395. Our contractual architect code stayed flat. Our fuel cost went up. We increased that by $14,000 just to try to cover, the account of anticipated fuel inflation, fuel cost inflation. We don't know what's going to happen next year.
I see that there's a line item for Stella Maris. Would it be possible, I'm not asking for it now, but I think in a future meeting, once we get through this, it might be nice just to see a pullout of the costs, the operational costs for Stella, because we talked about that in the presentation before the bond vote. It might be nice just to share that publicly. Here's where we're really at, now that we're, pen to paper on it.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be, so we're not fully functioning in that building yet, so
Right.
we're just kind of keeping the heat real low and keeping the lights low and, just trying to save some savings there 'cause we're not really occupying it.
Right, but next September is pretty early into our next fiscal year, which is what this is.
Yes.
So if we're projecting the costs,
Absolutely.
we're gonna be there in August, and it would be, I think it'd be helpful for people just to see.
Good,
But
great,
we
thank you.
won't, we won't be there in August, they'll be
No, well,
working.
it opens in September.
We're breaking ground, right?
No, it
Doesn't,
doesn't.
doesn't
Oh,
open in
no,
September,
January.
it's January.
You're right, January, I'm sorry.
So, and
And
they'll
it
be
won't
doing,
open in January.
and thank you
Don't say
for
that.
your optimism.
Well,
So
Wait.
it's the second half of the year.
Right,
Yeah,
So-
but the people be in there and the heat will be on and, you know,
right,
Right.
working.
Can I ask a question also, about the, it's on page 26, the architect and engineer fees in 2017 and 2018. So is this a retainer, for the bond stuff that's been going on for the architects?
This could be like a BCS report, like our 5-year building condition survey, anything we need from them as far as direction or drawings, or if we develop if we have a plumbing issue and we need to bring them in to get some engineering
So
input.
we have them on retainer for that
Right.
purpose?
Yes.
a lot like your attorneys, you know,
Okay,
you have to go
I
back to them
understand.
over and over again. They're also maintaining your building condition survey, which your insurance company always wants to know where you're at with that. So, that's something that you have to have a line item for.
So that's not a flat fee, we put it aside because we pay them during the course of the year.
And we may not use.
We may not use
Right.
it.
May not use it.
Right.
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 Yeah.
So as
To
needed.
cover us.
As needed.
Okay, so January, I'm sorry, but what Chris just said was kind of smart in the fact that, and I hadn't thought about it until right this very second. In other words, whatever the new name of Stella Maris will be, we own it already. And so therefore, this will be our first budget that will cover any expenses for that building and that operation outside of the bond projects to purchase and to renovate it,
Right.
right?
Correct.
So, up to today's only our second budget meeting.
Right.
Maybe we should identify as we go along what those increases are, so that we can explain them year to year. Because if the heat goes up, then the electric will go up and the gas will go up, right?
Well, you
Or
have-
we're saying
We-
it's so minimal that you're not gonna bother the budget.
They have a separate line item for the, if you look at the
For the
oil,
heat.
they show that on the oil.
And
But
then,
here's a question, so
but
does
it's
that?
not, Susan, just follow and I'm done. It's not on the lights
Right.
or the gas.
Right, and so, I follow you exactly, and
Okay.
that's why I was gonna ask, isn't that building on a separate meter?
Yes, it is.
So that
It's not
could
tied
be
into
easily
us.
broken down.
Yes.
But we're not budgeting for it, is what I'm saying.
No,
But
but what
I
we
would-
are doing, we're capturing, we have extra money built into the electricity and the gas lines. So we're anticipating, Marcus and I met, we're anticipating that we should be able to pay for Stella Maris out of those two
We should be
lines.
able to
At
cover
least this
that.
year, until we can get a better handle as to what those utility costs.
But I
would be.
think they're both right, I agree with Chris and Stephanie, it'd be helpful to have that
Broken
separate, broken out.
Okay, very good.
Even things like if we're paying more for an alarm system there, not just installing it, but also having it maintained, all of those things, just because we know what it costs to operate here generally, we
Yes.
can make a good guess. So I would assume if we're adding a whole nother building, costs go up, because we're not gonna budget the same year after year here,
Right.
and then say we can also cover another building, unless we've just been budgeting way too high. So it would be helpful to have a
Absolutely.
separate run.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
now that
Okay,
we've
I
given
just wanna,
them the
I
heat,
just wanna
let's
let you know
go.
that I told them they didn't, it was gonna be so labor intensive to break out Stella Maris for the electricity, the heat. They asked me to do that, and I said, oh my gosh, guys, you have so much work getting this budget together in such a short period of time, you don't have to break out Stella. Just as long as you can pay the electricity, you can pay the gas, but
It's very bare bones.
So I'm sorry.
No,
I
no,
just-
no,
So
no,
I
no,
told them they
no.
didn't have to break out Stella,
Please.
so the board's asked you to break out
No,
Stella,
but
so sorry about
my
that.
request isn't that you have to do it now as we go through it, I'm just saying, at the tail end of this, since you
Yes.
know you have it all in here,
Yes.
I think it would be helpful just to have it
Itemize
broken
it.
out,
Yeah.
so that we can share it with the public, and then we have something to measure against the first year, just to say, okay, where do we have to adjust?
Right.
Because this is a very big change for us.
Right,
Yes.
and
not
Dr. Kenner
understandable.
just said that they're estimating a certain amount, right?
Right.
So you built it in.
Like, we're very
so
bare bones, if we don't
there's
keep all the
an
lights
amount,
on,
Yeah.
It just
every other
was
light,
helpful for
type of
people to
thing.
see.
But they came and asked me, and I said,
Well, 'cause it
it's
makes
so
sense.
much work, you guys don't have to break it out, just
No,
going through
we
this
got
first
it,
time.
we're
Yeah.
not, I get, at the end of the day, when you add all this up and we're sitting here and the increases, you know, $500,000, and we said that the only thing extra was gonna cost us for Stella Maris was, I forget what
A
we said,
security
like
guard,
a security
board
guard and a
facing-
lawnmower,
That's all
and
we
we're
said.
$397 million over, would be nice to know why. Okay, keep going.
Okay.
Yes.
It's a pretty tight little place. Pretty impressed.
Right, obviously,
Yeah,
'cause
fuel,
you know what, if we bring the garbage from there and drive it over here and throw it in the dumpster here, then we can budget flat for
You know-
suburban sanitation.
Just for instance, just to take the gas, well, gas over there is very limited right now, it only does this kitchen, okay? But let's just take that for instance, so there's, in 16-17, it was 75,000, and we expensed 56,000, which is $18,000 right there. So we could break out, we could definitely break and itemize Stella, and I'll work on that this week. Sewage, we stayed, and carting, we stayed flat. Water as well. Alarms, we stayed flat on those numbers as well.
I have a question about this.
Yes.
It says here, I could be reading it wrong, but it says for the current year that although it's budgeted at 19,520, we're already at 24,513.
That was 15, 16.
I'm looking at 2017-18, the budget and the expenses line for alarms.
There was a
up
reason
there.
for that. You know what? I think it had to do with intralogic. Oh, no, I'm sorry, that was the 300,000.
And so I was just wondering if in the current year, we're already at 24.5 and the year's not over, why would we budget again at 19.5?
Wasn't that an anomaly, or was it a one-shot deal? Did you have to add cameras?
Because all the line items are the same for both.
I remember you mentioned to me, Mark, it was
So-
a one-shot
I think that was before Marcus got here and we had to redo,
I
our
think we
fire
added,
alarm.
honestly, yes.
Like-
Stella
Right,
Maris did.
Scott, help me, didn't we have to add the line item for the, alarm system? Wasn't it because we had to add the plates which showed where all the alarms were tripping?
I'm sorry, maybe I'm not clear, what I'm saying is,
I
they're
see
the
what you're
exact
saying.
same this year as next year,
But I think it was a one-time only.
purchase in this
Yeah,
current year.
Yeah, it was, and I can get back to you on what it was,
Okay.
but there, I think there was
Alrighty.
an anomaly cost that we
Yeah.
did not
Okay.
budget for.
That makes sense, I just was doing a reality check, because it's unusual to see.
Update the system stuff.
Yeah, remember we had that,
So you're confident 19.5 is enough for next year then? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Snow removal, we did, because parking is pretty challenging here at the campus, we did put in a $2,500 increase to possibly contract some specialty snow removal equipment, like as far as a backhoe, a payloader, a dump truck, and displace large snow piles so we don't lose parking spaces. We'll only use that money in case we get during a large snow event. So we just kind of like put that in the budget to cover those costs.
With Stella Maris, are we confident that we still, if we get snow regularly, can use the equipment we have and
We
don't
bring
need
it down there all the
more?
time. That's what we do the sidewalks
No, I
down
know,
there
I know
now.
we do at the elementary, but now we're at a third location.
No,
so
we
I'm
do
just
it
saying.
now down at Stella.
Oh, you do?
We go down, we do our sidewalks, we're in charge, we're responsible too.
Of course,
So, and
Good.
our parking spots, so yeah, we take the equipment down there and, we bang it out.
So we don't need more equipment?
Snow removal now.
This would be, Marcus and I spoke about this, if we really got hit with a
yeah,
really
no.
major storm, and we had to bring a contractor in,
Right.
we could do that.
Right, that was the only purpose why we increased that budget by 25.
and again, that might not be expended if
Correct.
we don't have,
If Mother
Right.
Nature's nice to us.
yeah.
Right, we had to use one this year, we had to contract a backhoe in here this year and do a purchase order and whatnot, because we had 15-foot snow piles, and I could see the kids climbing on top of it, and it was a lot of fun. So. Custodial supplies, we took a 2% increase just to, 2% custodial supply code will cover the inflation cost for cleaning agents and commodities. So we went from 82.5 to 84.150. So if you look at the bottom here, we have in 17-18, we budgeted $599,780. This proposed budget is $643,600, which is an increase of $43,820. Now my next slides will show where we're going to capture that savings in our 1621 codes.
So the 7%.
We stayed flat. Oh, actually, no, we did not stay flat. We took a major decrease here. The wall pads were complete on that project, so we didn't budget for any maintenance items, equipment items this year. So this code went down by $25,000 to capture some savings there. The operation of plant contractual, others, this code, sorry. You can't see it on this slide, but you see, okay, just remember the number, 210,550. We took out all these BCS, these are all complete, these projects. The BCS, the Building Condition Survey, we completed all those projects. And that brought us a savings of 29,500 out of that code, because we completed it. It's very nice.
Can you just, for the current year, I see our budget was 210,550.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
our expenses so far are 341,981. So that looks like it's, I don't know, 60% over budget this year? Is that accurate? I'm doing the math in my head.
I see that, yeah,
So
131.
that's really significant. Can you guys just, because when this goes out, people are gonna look at it and go, oh my gosh, we're 131,000 over budget already. Could you just speak a little bit to what that might be caused by? Because that's a little concerning,
341,000.
particularly now the proposed budget is half, almost half of where we are today this year. So it's,
Marcus, was that some of the items that you were telling me about? the
No,
other
that was
day?
Intralogic. I thought that was back when we installed all the
Last
access
year.
control, right, Scott? That's when it went up, right?
Which line are you talking about, I'm sorry? Which line, Marcus?
I'm looking at the 2017-18 budget line. I see expenses of 341,981.
Is it possible that things from the bond got put into this line item, and so that's part of what makes it look like it was over budget and it was supposed
Oh.
to be paid for from a different item?
I'm sorry, I think I have the answer for this. I think it had to do with Jennifer putting the monies into the BCS report, right? She took money and then she moved it over to capture the building condition survey items. For some reason, that sticks in my head, because she had to do a budget, transfer. So I'll go back and take a look.
There were a significant amount of items that I was asked to take care of through that study in response to the study, but the funding did come out of these codes because we didn't have a permanent person in place there, but that was what Jennifer said it was appropriate to take the money from. So as we went through that report, as we put in things like CO monitors and all the other things around both buildings that were called for in there, if they came out of, if they were like a facilities item, those are the codes that Jennifer had me cut the purchase orders out.
and is that considered operational plan contractual?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the right
So-
code for it.
So I guess what I'm asking is, if our budget was 210, why did we spend 341? Was it like stuff we legally had to do?
Well,
or-
any of these building condition surveys, those rest very heavily on your, and I don't have working memory on this one, but building condition surveys are those things that are identified by your insurance carrier that have to be
So
completed.
you have to take care of
You
them.
have to, and the beautiful part is, is as you take care of those, your insurance rates, it's just like the
Right.
Moody bond rating, it gets better. They're seeing you as less of a risk. The smaller your building condition survey is, so if you look at it, replace guardrails, replace missing
So it makes
junctions.
sense then, did we transfer money from another budget line to this then? Because we are overdrawn by 60% on this budget line.
We can find those budget transfers.
Yeah.
So they already have
Probably,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll check with Jennifer on that. I would think that what she did was transfer money out of the repair reserve to cover that expense.
We probably voted on it, I don't remember. I'm just asking only because it's so dramatic.
And I don't have
And-
working memory on this.
And when there are people in the public that will look at this and not understand it, so it's good to have clarity. And the Stella Maris repairs would come out of this and not the bond?
We have to be prepared that there's gonna be other things at Stella Maris that are gonna need repair that are outside the scope of the bond.
Yeah, because this is this year, right? Oh, no,
Yeah.
this is next year.
Yeah, for next
Okay,
year.
next year.
Yeah.
All right, so that's just operational repairs.
Yeah, absolutely,
That makes sense.
because it's our building,
Of course.
yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's, 17, 18 is this year.
Correct.
So that was money in our budget this year.
And
correct?
then there's money in the budget for next
Right.
year as well.
So, was all that spent then from last year on Stella Maris?
We had repairs for
So
Stella
it would have
Maris
been
last year.
repairs for Stella Maris that would have been outside the bond?
Yeah, it's our building.
No, I understand, so is that something that maybe can be, sort of explained, because I think, I'm, for one, like, it's supposed to be something where we're renovating, so just we might be curious about what those were, and then we have another same amount budget for the
I
following
think we
year.
have presented on, like, as they've given the facilities report, like, we had to go down and work on, I think, the
boilers,
the
we did.
boilers. I think
Wait,
those are the-
I'm
that's
sorry,
not
are
part-
you looking at the difference between the $210,000 and the $181,000?
No, I think she's looking at Stella Maris repairs
we're just
for
curious
last
about
year.
that.
Well,
Repairs.
yeah, I mean, look,
We were
this,
just wondering if that, Chris's question was whether that sort of thing's been covered by the bond. Katie says, no, that stuff outside the scope of the bond, and so I was just curious, like, what kind of stuff that is, since we haven't really.
Yeah,
started
I
off
thought
with
besides
something.
like oil and electricity, anything that is in the structure until we open our doors is part of the bond.
No, the bond project is for that's when the architects come in, they have their plans, you follow the plans, and
Right.
your BCK subcontracts, and they go in and do all the renovation work.
Right.
But the building is ours, so if tonight one of the boilers
Right.
has a little problem,
Got it.
our custodians go down, they fix, they
Right.
renovate, they
Not
cut
part of the bond plan, just
Yeah, they
stuff
have to cut
happens.
they have to,
That's clear, thank
you
you.
know, they have to
Thank you.
plow the snow, they have to trim the hedges.
okay, so maybe I zoned out, but all this BCS architecture stuff,
Building condition survey, right.
that we did in 17, 18, which comes to 20 grand, was stuff that wasn't part of the not finished bond project?
No,
No.
that is the things, we've been talking about this, for the last 4 years, is we had a really substantial insurance stuff. that-
Yes,
Remember, we
yes,
took all the
yes,
pictures
yes,
of everything
yep,
that had to be
yep, yep.
fixed.
And we had to get to them one at a time. Got it, thank you, bye, keep going.
Got it.
Mhm,
Proud of you.
okay.
Yep. And we use terrible names for it. It should be the insurance to-do list, like railings and, fixtures and, door handles. for the
Honey-do
walls.
list, I have one of those. I want my
Exactly.
garbage
And it
cans
makes
to
our
be in a
insurance
nice
company really
house.
love us. And our insurance company came in on I think the first day of school to look at this list. Really convenient.
Okay.
Moving forward,
Vehicles.
we continue to be flat. Our 1620, our maintenance of plant supplies, we continue to stay flat on that. Copier supplies flat, lighting flat. Flat, flat. Our grounds maintenance, we definitely went with a fine tooth comb through this, and we were able to keep the budget flat with the new field. We're pretty excited to overseed and lime and do all the organic treatment that we can to maintain that beautiful athletic field. So if you look at the bottom here, we have a savings from the 1621 codes of $49,940. So this actually is a decrease to the budget of $6,120, which is 0.6%.
So question, on page 38, if you don't mind just going
Yep,
back
sure.
for a second.
I don't
The
know.
operations of the plant, it looks like from one year to another, is going up, what is that, 8%, 7%? But the maintenance of the plant, I'm just curious that it's going down when we have a new building to maintain as well. Am I missing something? Because it looks like it's going down.
Stella's pretty bare bones at this point. We're just really focusing on the fuel and, like I said, the
Right.
lighting. and-
But second half of the year, we're gonna have kids in the building and staff in the building, right? For
I thought
opening
they
in
were slotted for
January?
September of 19.
No, I thought it was January to,
2019.
Right,
January.
January.
2019.
So that means the second half of the year, we have staff and students in classrooms and stuff going on there. So that's why, and I would assume in the fall, we're getting ready, so there'll be some work there. So I'm just surprised to hear that we need 12% less money to maintain not only our 2 buildings, but an additional building. That's unbelievable.
What Marcus and I talked about doing again is that depending on where we are with the repair reserve, I think that we're probably going to do present to the board to do a 45-day hearing to the community, and then take the money from the repair reserve, and then Marcus would put together a bullet list of what needs to be done over there. Right now, we can't do anything because we're waiting for the state ed approval. So, and so we're kind of on hold, so that is probably gonna be our best course of action, because we've got money in there, and this way we're not taking the money out of the operating budget of what we're asking the community to pay for. So that's why you're not seeing it included in this budget presentation.
So based on that, I appreciate that, that's helpful. So you think it's actually our out-of-pocket's gonna be, the cost is gonna be more, but we can take it from money that already exists in another account. So how much do you think this is gonna end up being, not in this budget, but what the cost will be next year?
With, including Stella Maris?
Yes.
I don't know, I would have to sit down with Marcus and our architect and an engineer to find out.
To figure that out. Okay, so this is not including all the costs, but we're trying to keep our budget down, and
Right.
you're hoping that the taxpayers will allow us to shift money from one account to this account?
Correct.
But
Okay.
also, Chris, they really did look at it's a very small footprint, Stella Maris's, but they feel like they've got the heat, the electricity is in a $40 million budget, that we're gonna be able to cover Stella Maris with what we're currently doing.
No, I appreciate that, but the budget's actually going down 12%. That's why I'm saying, going down 12 and adding a whole new building, it wasn't logical to me.
Remember,
That's why I
at
asked.
the beginning, we were saying, like I was showing, we have an 8.9% increase with benefits, and we're trying to capture savings elsewhere. That's how we're trying to do it.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, January of 19 through June of 19, if Stella Maris, God willing, is ready, opened, and we all celebrate on time, and the children run through the doors to start school, will be almost a pass. Meaning, we're shooting in the dark. We have no idea what the gas and the electric and the blah, blah, blah. So once we see how many times it snows, how many times we need to schlep our lawnmower and snow blower down there, then we'll be a little bit more intelligent when doing the budget a year from now for the following full school calendar year.
But I agree, but that's the operations of the budget, what you just described. This is, that I wasn't questioning. We actually budgeted, what was it, like an 8%, 7% increase there. It was the maintenance of the plant I'm talking about, which has nothing to do with the list you just
Well,
said. But
you know,
anyway.
but you also have to think that if it's a brand new building on January 2nd of 2019, if all the stars line up and we go in on time, which they won't, and that has nothing to do with anybody. Construction never goes on time. I mean, it really doesn't. It just doesn't. There shouldn't be any maintenance, and if there is maintenance in a brand new building, then gosh, I know who to shoot.
I'm confident that
Stephanie.
we have a pretty sound, we could handle Stella with these numbers, very confident.
And I did one
We have to
walkthrough
cut
with
some other
Marcus
areas.
when I first started 2 weeks ago, and I mean, it's a very sound building. The roof looked good, the boilers looked good.
Again, it was just because we're adding a building and decreasing by a lot. I think we can move on. The point was made,
Thank you.
because I know we're running late.
Yeah, capital projects. Can we do that?
Contractual salary, once again, the overtime,
It's all your salary stuff, it's all contractual. Marcus, why don't you just take them to the summary slide?
there we go. So that's what we're looking at here. We got an increase of 17,219. increase of 120.05. 125. 9.4% increase for the salaries, which are contractual.
And does this, the salary data incorporate the additional custodial staff we may need?
Yes.
It's all in there? Because we talked, I think there was going to be an additional head count, right?
Yes, yes.
And it looks like, I'm sorry, what was the total custodial? Salary?
The total is 120 over, if it's,
What is the total for custodial staff? I was having a hard time reading it.
2018-19 budget, 120,000 total for the salary for the department.
1819 and the 1920 was how much?
Correct. Oh, I'll tell you now.
I can't find it here.
Go back to
This one? All right.
Wait, it can't be 120,000 for all of our custodians.
It's 18. No, okay, 1 second.
It's 420 versus 438.
Let's see.
Here, this
There we
page.
go. 438,106
Versus 420.
versus 420,887.
So,
Sorry.
so it's, thank you very much. So it's about 17 and change more to add custodial staff to the additional building in the budget.
Because I think we only added it for the second half of the year, right?
Correct.
Right.
So there doesn't need to be any custodial work done until the kids go in January.
Not really. I mean, the contractors will be up there until we open the doors.
Makes sense.
But is it one person? The only salary that jumps is number 1, 2, 3, the fourth salary down. From 68 to 80.
3, 4.
What?
80,254.
Yeah. And the prior year it's 68, 648. That's your only increase. That's your $18,000 increase.
Is that because the budget this year is more than what we need and so you don't have to add more for next year?
I don't believe so. We've been shorthanded, we have to pull a lot of subs in because Jennifer's out, so, because one of our custodians are out, and,
Jennifer's doing custodial work too?
No, we shouldn't
Sorry.
have names, but we have a person that's out. We have a person that's out.
Okay, whatever. It's gonna be spotless and perfect when the door's open.
yes.
Okay, does anyone have any more questions for Mr. De Silva?
I'm sorry though, we did see an increase in this budget, so we're gonna be working to capture, savings and compressions in other parts of the budget as we move forward.
Tax cap, we continue to get squeezed.
Oh, our next one?
Are we done?
Yep, so our next one will be, March 12th, will be a budget workshop with, but I'll let Phil go ahead and.
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap up by going through the budget calendar. So March the 12th, we'll have another budget workshop. We'll put our revenue projections together. I'll have work with our tax levy, put tax levy projection together. What we're looking at for fund balance projection to appropriate money towards the budget. And we'll also do the transportation budget that night. So that's in 1 month from tonight.
Phil, did we miss, the capital project overview? Marcus, did that one slide on the capital projects, the status of the capital projects?
Yeah, that one didn't seem to make it into the presentation, but we have a couple of things, a couple of line items that we're focusing on, that we're still researching.
So we can add
So
that-
you can add that to the next presentation. It really is just what we're focusing on moving forward, right?
So
Good, good catch though,
Yeah, so the transportation budget that that'll be presented a month from tonight, I know we're looking at having the consultants, just remind me, are they gonna be coming in before that budget presentation or that night?
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
I
Because
believe
I know that the
they-
last meeting we talked about that, wouldn't we need to get some input from them as we kind of firm up the transportation budget for next year, right?
They have to, I've gotta get, thank you for that question, I have to get from them, they move backwards from your May vote.
Right.
And they have to come backwards, and I will get that for the board, okay?
Yeah, because the budget gets locked before then, obviously, so there's
Yeah.
kind of go, no-go date.
Mhm.
So my last slide is, thank you. Thank you for your time, we appreciate it. And for all your questions and your input.
Thank you.
So I turn it back over to the
Well
superintendent.
done, and I have to
Thank
tell you,
you.
this was such a fast turnaround time to do this in 3 weeks, to do 2 budget presentations. Well done, you guys.
Thank you, thanks for all your hard work.